Last time we talked about why trust feels impossible after you've been hurt. And I made you a promise. I told you we were going to talk about what rebuilding trust actually looks like. Not the version where someone tells you to just open up and let people in. Not the version where you repeat affirmations in the mirror until you feel better. And not the version that wraps it up neatly with a bow. No. The real version. Because rebuilding trust after real damage is one of the hardest things a person can do. And absolutely nobody should walk into it blind. This is Coffee Talk with Paul, and tonight we're going to talk honestly about what it actually takes to rebuild trust in other people and in yourself. Okay, here is the first thing that nobody tells you about rebuilding trust. You don't start with other people. You start with yourself. Because here's the reality. If you don't trust your own judgment, if you genuinely don't know whether you can read people accurately anymore, then letting someone new in isn't brave. It's a gamble. And you've already paid too high of a price to keep gambling with yourself. So, what does trusting yourself actually mean? It means you learn to listen to what you actually feel. Not what you think you should feel, and definitely not something someone else tells you to feel. What you actually feel. See, trauma teaches you to override the instincts, to talk yourself out of what you're sensing, and to give people the benefit of the doubt, long past the point where your gut was already telling you that something was wrong. Rebuilding self-trust means starting to listen to your gut again. Not perfectly and not all at once. Just starting to pay attention to what it's saying instead of automatically shutting it down. So look, I want to be straight with you about something. Rebuilding trust is not a moment. It's not a decision you make one afternoon that changes everything. It is a process, a slow one, and it looks nothing like what people describe it as. It looks like someone doing something small and consistent, and then you noticing it. Not reacting to it immediately and not throwing the doors open because they showed up one time or remembered something that you said. Just noticing it, filing it away, and letting it exist without immediately looking what's wrong with it. That's it. That's the first step. Noticing without dismissing. Because what trauma does, and what it did to me, is train you to dismiss evidence of safety just as fast as you dismiss evidence of danger. Someone is kind to you consistently, and your brain says, what are they after? Right? Someone shows up when they say they would, and your brain says, wait for it. Rebuilding trust means allowing yourself to collect the evidence of safety without immediately canceling it out. Small deposits. Just over time, from specific people who earn it. Not from everyone, and not all at once. From specific people who earn it over time. Okay, so let's talk about something that has been a part of my own process, okay? Faith. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe or push anything on you, because that's not what this channel is about. But I'd be dishonest if I talked about rebuilding trust in my own life without acknowledging that my faith has been part of it. Because you've been hurt by someone or by people that were close to you, people that you should have been able to trust, hurt deeply, repeatedly, people who were supposed to be safe, and it can get to the point where you don't trust anything human. And for me, having something to anchor that to was bigger than the people who hurt me that mattered. I didn't fix everything. And faith doesn't erase trauma. And anyone that tells you just to pray it away hasn't been through what we've been through. They haven't. But it gave me a foundation that was not dependent on whether another person showed up or let me down. Whatever that anchor looks like for you, faith, nature, community, something that connects you to something larger than the pain, that is what matters in this process. Because you can't rebuild trust on a foundation of pure survival. You need something solid underneath it. So, I told you last time that I still haven't fully learned that not everyone is out to get me. Because that's still true. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've rebuilt trust completely, because that would be a lie. And this channel doesn't do lies. What I can tell you is what has actually moved the needle for me. Okay? So, the first thing was coming to terms with what happened. Not just thinking about it, but really coming to terms with it. And not just intellectually understanding that it wasn't my fault, but actually believing it in the places where the shame lives. And that took years. Decades, honestly. And it didn't happen all at once. It happened in moments. The moment I confronted him at 17 and took some of my power back. The moment I finally told my parents at 25 and the world didn't end. The moment I realized that the people who loved me, the ones who had been protecting by staying silent, they could handle the truth, and they still stayed. And that last one was important, because one of the deepest fears that trauma builds into you is this: if people really knew everything, they would leave. And when someone knows everything and they stay, that is evidence, real evidence, that trust is possible. I'm not fully there yet. I still build walls. I still pull back. I still catch myself looking for the exit in relationships before they can hurt me. But I know something now that I didn't know at 12 or at 17 or at 15. The walk kept me safe, but it also kept me alone. And alone is not the same as safe. Okay? So, let me give you some things that actually work, okay? Not theory, not inspiration. Things that have moved real people forward. First, you have to start small and stay specific. Don't trust everyone more. That's not how it works. Pick one person in your life who has been consistently safe. Not perfect, but consistent. And practice letting them a little closer. One conversation at a time, and one honest moment at a time. Second, pay attention to actions and not words, because we know that actions speak louder than words. Okay, because words are easy. Anyone can say the right thing. And what you're watching for is whether what someone does matches what they say consistently over time. That's where trust gets built or broken. Third, look, give yourself permission to go slowly. There's not a timeline for this. And anyone who pressures you to trust faster than you're ready to is showing you exactly why you shouldn't trust them yet. Safe people are patient. They understand that trust is earned, not demanded. Fourth, look, you're going to have setbacks. That's all there is to it. Expect setbacks, but don't let them define the whole process. Someone is going to let you down. Even good people do. The difference now is that a setback, it doesn't have to mean that you were wrong to try. It just means that person, that person is human. Learn what you can from it and keep going. And fifth, this is the most important one. Stop punishing safe people for what unsafe people did. Let me say that again. Stop punishing safe people for what unsafe people did. That one's hard. And I know it's hard because I've done it. Holding someone at arm's length because of what someone else did to you, making them pay for the damage that they didn't cause, well, it's not fair to them. And my friend, it's not fair to you either. Because what it does, it guarantees that the person who hurt you, they keep winning. Keep shaping your life. They keep determining who gets access to you and who doesn't. And they have already taken enough. So, I want to be honest with you about something before we close, okay? Rebuilding trust is not a straight line. You'll have days where it feels possible and days where someone does something small, cancels plans, says the wrong thing, doesn't show up the way you needed. And every wall you've ever built goes right back up in a few seconds. That's not failure. That's the process. The goal isn't to get to a place where you never feel guarded again, because that's not realistic. And honestly, it's not even a goal. Some guard is healthy and some discernment is wisdom, not damage. I don't know how to tell you to get to a place where you never feel guarded again, because I'm not there myself. The goal is to get to a place where the guard is a choice, not a reflex. Where you can decide who gets access to you based on what they've shown you, not based on what someone else did to you 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. That's what freedom looks like after trauma. Not the absence of walls. The ability to choose when to open the door. You have survived things that would have broken most people. And you're still here. That means you have so much more strength, so much more endurance than you give yourself credit for. Use some of that strength to let one safe person in. Just one. Just a little. Just enough to remember what it feels like. Try that, okay? Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time right here on Coffee Talk with Paul.